and welcome to another Lambda Ethereum Consensus Daily. And as always, let me share the in Telegram. And that's it, it's already shared. So, updates. Yesterday I was working in the sync. Sorry, the the 2% missing blocks was already finished. The PR was ready for review, but I was still looking at why we have the delay that caused the issue related to the second third of the slot being happening before the receive the notify of the new route, right? It was related to the duties, but I didn't know what was the specific part that was making the delay possible. So after analyzing it, I discovered that it was related to the sync committee calculation, and it was not just the sync committee calculation per se, but how it is done in kurtosis when we have like small number of validators. The thing is, they are like they are repeated more than once. They are also aggregators in almost all of the slots, and we need to check a lot of things that in a real scenario like mainnet it won't happen, because in the best case we will have like one validator as part of the sync committee, because we have millions of validators. So being more than having more than one of our validators in the same sync committee is not something that would happen easily. But I like created a long comment explaining why this is different, like attestations, why it happens only in kurtosis, and yeah, I tried to make a case for everything that was happening yesterday. And after I got that all placed there, I continue working in the other task that I was working at the same time, that was related to the subnet early subscribe. And I have it in a good position right now. It's working, so we are not missing any messages anymore. At least for the tests that I was able to follow. I wanted to merge main because one of the things that was still happening was related to the missing block in the 33rd slot, for example, and the 65. But discarding that, everything was working. One of the things that are not yet there is I want to make a more complex test in main, because I did a complex test in minimal, a simple test in main, and I want to do a complex test in main now. But also, I wanted to share and discuss a bit with you, Tommy, about the joining of the subnets, because what I did and solved the issue was make the subscription early, right? So I calculated the subnets both for aggregators in the, so what I did was, given the attestations duties that we have, making sure what are the ones that need to aggregate and add those subnets to the particular slot that this aggregator is selected, right? So we will only subscribe in attestations to the subnets that we have an aggregator for in a particular slot. That's are the subnets that we are going to subscribe in the attestation. In the sync committee, it's mostly the same. It could happen in any slot, but it's mostly the same. I just check what are the ones that we need to aggregate and also add those subnets to a particular slot. And in the beginning of the first third of the slot, before the proposing, what I do is, okay, I get for this slot the subnets for the attestations and the subnets for the sync committee, and just subscribe. That's what I'm doing. I'm not doing it in the beginning of the duty calculations. I'm just doing it in the first third of the slot, and this solved the issue that we have. But I didn't add what was part of the task, the join to the subnet. So one thing that I could still add to the PR, and I want to ask you, Tommy, what do you think about, is in the duties, in the epoch transition, when we start to calculate the next duties, we can, in that same step, leave all subnets and join to the new ones. I don't know if that will be useful because I think it's working as it is right now, but maybe I'm missing something, and you can have another idea regarding that. Because the subscribe do the join, right? It do both things at the same time. It join and subscribe, but it is done in the slot that we are interested and not at the beginning of the epoch. I don't know what are your thoughts about that, Tommy. If you have another idea, maybe something that could go wrong if I don't subscribe in the beginning of the epoch instead of the beginning of not.
Are we sure that we need to subscribe at the beginning of the epoch?
I don't think we need to. So right now, what I'm pretty sure is that for a particular slot we need to be hearing to particular subnets that we are aggregators. That's for sure, and that
Yeah.
the attestations are sync committee message broadcast. They both happen in the second slot. That's that's always, and also
In the second slot or a second third of the
the
slot?
sorry the second third of the
Okay.
slot, and And it also happens when we receive a new route, and we receive new routes just after the first slot because the proposal happens in the first slot. So um, what we are doing is the first thing in the first third of every slot is subscribing to every subnet that we care about in this particular slot. And I think that's enough, but mm, maybe I'm missing something. What we were doing, like a lot of time before, was what I mentioned. In every epoch, we join to every subnet that we are interested in that epoch, and then we subscribe in every second, third. And that also generate the problem because even if we subscribe late but we join early, we have the same issue that are some of the message we receive them but we just discard them. So yeah.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure. Like, I have two views on this. One is the pragmatic one, and one is the theoretical one. The pragmatic view tells me that if this is working and this solves your issue, I wouldn't worry too much. On the theoretical side, I want to ask, like, what was the is this something recent, or is this something that we did a lot of time before? The change from joining at the beginning for, versus joining, like, so sorry, joining at the beginning of the epoch versus joining per slot. When did that change happen? Is that a recent
Oh,
thing, or
no, no, no. The joining really doesn't happen anymore. It changed it
oh,
in the refactor, in the state management refactor. That's where it. Sorry, it was a state management. It was a gen server removal. It changed it in the
okay?
gen server removal. When
Why so?
when
I'm
sorry.
just curious. I want to know the reasoning behind it.
Oh, it happens because when we remove that, things continue working. And I created an issue for looking at this
Ah,
later,
that's
and this is that later moment when we are looking at it.
right.
and and the thing was, like, even if we join, when we subscribe, we were subscribing late, even before the gen server removal refactor. We
For
were
sure. Yeah, like
subscribing
the core of the
after.
problem was subscribing at the second third,
Yes.
right? And
and
yeah,
and the thing that I have in my mind right now is, now that we move the subscribe early in the slot, in the first slot, all the problems that we have appear to be solved. So
yeah.
the question is it really needed to have a join in the beginning of the epoch, or is it something that we do because it was just part of what we do, and that's not something that we need anymore? And i'm
My
i'm not
opinion,
finding. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
is that I would call it a day and just merge the, like, if the PR solves the problem, it's definitely better than the solution that we had before. So I would just like have that in a PR, merge it, and then even then we can start to even think about like joining different stages. Like that's more. I would consider that more in the like territory of optimization more than
Okay.
anything else. Because like
Okay.
that right now, the only thing I care about is that you actually fixed the issue. You figured out
Yeah.
that you shouldn't be subscribing in the second third. If you started subscribing in the first third, then you were already ready to go, and you
Yes.
stopped missing messages. And I think that that's the only important thing.
Awesome. Awesome.
Now joining, like theoretically, what could happen if you don't join at like enough time? Somebody may like throw messages before you start. getting them, but that's what subscribe does. So in the worst case, if you're not um, propagating some messages, you may have some problems in the sense that like other peers might detect that you are not redirecting them, but it shouldn't be a problem if you should not be part of that subnet. Like
Yeah,
that subnet is specific for the validators, not for any beacon node. And we are actually joining in those slots because we are
yes,
subscribing. So like from a very like primitive basic point of view, I don't see the problem. I would just double check, like not now, like after merging the PR, just to be sure, I would double check with both the specs to see if they say anything, or they have to book, which is basically the same thing but human readable, or other implementations of the beacon node, just to see, hey, what are other people doing? But
great,
I wouldn't lose any sleep on that. Like I'm pretty sure that that should be working.
awesome,
I would
awesome.
only worry if you start seeing symptoms of that not working, like here or in mainnet. Like when I say mainnet, I never refer to the mainnet config. I
No,
refer
no, no,
to
I know, I
connecting
know.
to the mainnet network. Yeah. So just to clarify. Um. So yeah, that's my full opinion on the
Great,
matter.
great. I had like the same opinion, but just wanted to
Right.
to to, to hear you and make sure that we are aligned in the same rail of
Awesome.
thought. So great. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to finish this test. Once this test is complete and I could see everything is working as expected, I just open the PR for review and not close the issue, left a comment about what we have discussed now, and make sure that in the future maybe we want to tackle this again and go through the spec and make sure that we are not missing something related to join. But yeah, what I thought was the same as you say, right? We just need to be joined to the subnets that we care about. The subnets that we care about are the ones that we aggregate, and the ones that we aggregate are known and useful in a particular slot, not before, not after. So if we at the beginning and just at the beginning of the slot are subscribed to it, then it should be enough. But yeah, I'm going to add this comment in the issue, and yeah, left it for later. So yeah, I'm going to finish that. I'm going to open the PR for review, and I hope to have time to start the another subnet info task that I have there. There are more than one, so I'm going to pick the one that I think is more useful. But one is related to the duplications of aggregates that we had. I think that's the one I'm most interested in. We have another issue that happens like it doesn't happen all the time, but I think it's pretty easy to solve. So I'm going to I'm going to look if we have an issue because I don't think we have an issue for this one. But sometimes when things happen for long runs, there are some issues when we try to add an attestation to a subnet that's not created, and that breaks. And I'm pretty sure that is an quick and easy fix. It's related to when we add an attestation to a subnet that's not created, just create it. I'm pretty sure that's enough for solving that issue, but I need to look at it and test it and make sure that that's the case. So yeah, I'm going to go with those two probably. The more interesting one is the one that removes some of the duplication that we have in the aggregates for attestations, not sync committee. Sync committee would be like in great shape once we merge this PR. And if I could, one other thing that I'm interested is that we are. This is like an always thing. It happens before the all the reactors and it's continue happening. We add all the stations to our blocks, right? So we have instead of the slot minus one attestation, we have slot minus two, and I don't know why. So that's something that probably have a bit of deep dive and know what is happening, but that is also interesting for I'm trying to have these things
Is that
ready
a
for
problem? Like in the
uh,
sense that I think that as attestation inclusion can sometimes be a little bit late, right? Because I don't remember this fully, but I have the idea that if you get your like if you're a validator, you send an attestation, and you may have sent your attestation a little bit late. and you may get some rewards even if it was not fully timely included. Like if it was included like 2 blocks away, then you also get some rewards, I think. I might be remembering this wrong, but if that's the case, it makes sense to include attestations that are a little bit more old,
Yes, no,
unless you already included them. And like
no, 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 no,
it's
no. I think
yeah,
that's correct. You are correct. The thing is
yeah.
not that we are including all attestations, is that we never include the correct the actual
Ah,
attestation. So we never include the slot minus one. It's always a slot minus two, the best one that we have. So there is something. I'm pretty sure
right.
that something is there filtering the correct aggregation that we need to add. So I need to make a deep dive and find why. But yeah, no, what you mentioned, it's the case when we don't when we don't add some of the aggregates, we add more of them, like the slot minus two, minus three, minus four, and that's okay. But what caught my attention is that we never get the slot minus one, and the other nodes always put that one in the block. So yeah,
Definitely,
we are
yes.
we are missing something here. So yeah, that's are the things that I'm going to be working for today, probably tomorrow, and yeah, I hope to have it ready for the early next week. So yeah, I'm going to work on that.
Okay, just a question: do we have issues
Yes.
for those? Like, okay,
Sorry.
perfect. No, if we have issues for those
Oh,
things
we
that you
have
just
we
mentioned.
have issues for the duplicate aggregation. We have issues for the one that is aggregating all slots instead of the slot minus one. But we don't have one related to the error I mentioned. This error that
Okay.
when you have an attestation and you don't have the subnet info, it's not creating and
Yeah,
everything crash. I'm going to create an issue for that. So the other two have issues. This one I'm pretty sure it doesn't. I'm going to check in the issues, but I'm going to create it.
perfect. Oh, just one more comment. I'm sorry, I'm making this the daily today a little
Oh,
bit
no, no,
longer,
no.
but regarding the issue of the the subnet not being created, because like
Yes.
it's not the actual subnet, right? It's
No, no,
our
no, no, no.
object.
It's not that. Sorry. It's the subnet info.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
how we are
yeah,
storing the information for a particular subnet. Yeah.
exactly. So the only thing that I'm not worried about, but the only thing that I would be careful about is you mentioned that maybe the solution is just create the thing, and that might be the case, but there's a catch, which is um, if I recall correctly, when you create a subnet with an attestation, you basically only take future attestations that match that information,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So if someone else sends an attestation that
No. Yeah.
and you start a subnet and it doesn't match your view of the chain, then you will have all sorts of
Yes.
problems.
That's
So you
that's
have
that's the thing that. Yeah. 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 I completely agree with that.
okay,
That's part of the check that we need to make when we doesn't do this from ourselves. So what happens before
yeah,
is that we create the subnet with our attestation. So yeah, it's our view.
yeah,
In this other case, what we need to do is make sure that the root corresponds to the same root we have in that particular cell. So yeah, yeah, there are a couple of checks that are needed in this kind of creation that are not needed in the ones that we are making right now. But yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
I totally agree that that's something that we need to be careful about. Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah, if you already have that in mind, then I'm happy with that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about that because that's mostly the same issue that happens with the sync committee when we have a different route and things like
Exactly. Yeah,
delay it.
it's
It's
very
the same.
similar to that.
It's
Yeah.
exactly the same thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah. Okay. Well, I don't have anything more, Tommy. Don't know if you have. Sorry. Just to mention, you created an issue
Ah, yeah.
regarding these performance optimizations for the sync committee calculation with both my comment and your view. There was something there that I was interested. I can't remember right now. It was the last paragraph because I look at the last paragraph and said, "Hey,
Oh,
this is
it's
interesting."
the
Yeah.
sign versus the
Oh
domain
yeah,
computation.
that one, that
Yeah.
one. The compute signing root versus the VLS sign. Yeah, that's something that would be interesting to check and test because yeah, if it's that's an easy way to remove part of the
Yeah.
of
You
the
should be able to cache or
differential.
memorize that part, and then you would reduce a lot of the calculation. if it's the signature, like the actual BLS
Yes,
not
yes.
signed, then
We
there's
have
not that
no.
much
Yeah,
we can. Yeah,
yeah. I agree.
we can
If it's a
like, give it more
signature,
CPU power and parallelize, but that's it. We
that's
can't
it.
do
Yeah,
anything
yeah, yeah.
else.
Totally agree. But the other one, it's a good catch. So yeah, I'm going to, when I take that, I'm going to measure specifically that. So thanks for
Awesome.
the idea. And yeah, well, now yeah, I think that's all. So well, I hope to see you all again tomorrow on Friday. And yeah,
Yeah. See you all
have a good.
tomorrow.
Bye bye.